Today we're taking a look at the Magic from Deadlands Classic Edition, although, to be honest, most of what I'm going to say is also going to apply to Deadlands Reloaded, so if that's your favorite version, keep watching, because a lot of it's going to apply. And we're focusing on the Huckster today. So, there are 4 types of Magic users. Basically, you pick the edge, the arcane background edge, when you're making your character, and there's also some other things you have to do. You have to write in or take ranks, at least one rank of a particular aptitude. So you have the skill to roll on in the first place to do your magic stuff. And then, if the GM gives you permission, because this game is very secretive about its magic and stuff, although once you've played a campaign, cat's kind of out of the bag, really. You pick your arcane background, the GM says go to the particular chapter, Huckster, Shaman, Mad Scientist, or a Divine Priest, Holy Man. You go to your chapter, in this case the Huckster's chapter, and you actually you just watch this video instead. Watch my videos instead, don't read the book. Reading's for nerds. Watch my video instead. Okay, so Hucksters. Hucksters get their origin from Hoyle, who was a real dude, like a lot of Deadlands characters. They were real historical figures. Hoyle, we know him as a guy who had a book of games or something. He did something with card games. Well, in this universe, that's actually just a front, a cover. See, he became interested in, like, sorcery and the arcane and talking to demons and all that, which was always a thing for hundreds, maybe thousands of years, but once the whole Indian Manitou thing happened, they did a ritual. There was sort of a big renaissance, if you will, of evil spirits and the connection to the spirit world being opened up, and all the Manitous and revenants and all that started affecting the world, which sort of bathed our world in this magical energy, which Hoyle and now others can more easily tap into, and that's where these sorcerers we call hucksters came from. Because he was going around all these villages, Europe, learning about magic and all this and talking to spirits, but he needed a cover because he didn't want to be branded a witch and killed and all that, so he said, oh, I'm looking up about cards, these tarot cards. I'm looking, reading stories about cards and games and all these card games and blah, 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 because I'm compiling a list of games together. And that's why I'm, talking about tarot cards with all these small villages throughout Europe. And not because I'm trying to learn magic to become a sorcerer. Of course not, that would be silly. Tarot cards were originally used in various games before they were used to tell fortunes. I should probably make note of that. That's why I referenced tarot cards. Anyway, so he goes around, compiles a bunch of knowledge, and he hides the knowledge about connecting to the spirit world and the demons and all that in his book of games, in the rules, and distributed it amongst the West through these games and game terminology. For instance, Hoyle learns that in order to do magic, you have to sort of talk to spirits of this other world and engage in a battle of wills, a mental mind game with them, which he personally found is easiest to sort of picture as an actual, like, physical game in the spirit world, like card games or whatever. It was easier for him to win the game by picturing it in that way, and so he called the spirits jokers, so if he was talking about them with someone else, someone overhearing it wouldn't assume, oh, he's talking about evil spirits and magic. He's a witch. Burn him. They would just say, oh, he's talking about card games and stuff. And also, the mechanism of doing magic would manifest in the form of this mental card game that he was doing. So the two are very much interconnected. In fact, and this is part I don't fully understand. Okay, so you just decide, I'm going to make a deal with the spirit world. I'm going to talk to the spirits, do a mental mind game, and if I win, I get access to their power, right? They channel their energy through me, but I still have a leash on them, essentially. They can't hurt me because I won the mental duel, and then I do a spell because of their power. But the way you activate a power when you're one of these huckster characters is that magic cards appear in your hand, and then you have to look at the cards for the spell to actually activate. So it's kind of obvious to someone who's looking for it that you're doing magic, which is why they travel usually as gamblers, so because they're constantly looking at cards, and you think, oh, he's just obsessed with his cards. That's why this random person is looking at cards. Where did those cards come from? I didn't see where those cards came from. Whatever. He's just a gambler, and he likes looking at his cards for some reason. And, oh, look, a fireball. Oh, look, a magic thing is happening. What a weird coincidence. What is the connection? Mechanically, what is actually going on that causes the cards to manifest in real life in order to activate the Huckster Magic. Is it just because the Hucksters, they think of it in terms of a game, so when real life cards appear, can they just not do that? Kind of gives them away, really. Why is that a thing? I don't know, it seems kind of dumb to me. Anyway, you communicate with the spirit world, you're in the spirit world mentally, you're doing a mental mind game, which you see as like a game of cards or whatever, versus this demon. And if you win, you sort of open yourself up to them, they kind of enter your body, and you kind of use their fuel to do magic stuff. But, if they win, actually nothing happens. Nothing happens if they win, necessarily. It's if they win, but they trick you into thinking that you won. That's where the downside of this Huckster magic comes into play. Because, you know, these demons, they can't really access our world directly. They can be allowed to sort of enter it by entering your body if you allow them to. So if they trick you into thinking that, hey, you, mortal, won this game with me, okay, I will do what you want. I will sort of enter into your body and do the magic in the way that you want, and you allow them to do so. But they've tricked you, and actually they have a leg up. They sort of won the mental battle, but you don't realize it, that they won the mental battle. So they aren't on the leash. The leash is loose. It's not fastened all the way, the leash that is on them. And so they enter your body, and now they can do whatever they want. They can harm you directly. Maybe they can target someone else with the spell. You allow them into your home, but you don't have full control over them, and so bad stuff's gonna happen. So that's sort of the gamble of being this huckster type magician. I should probably mention why they call themselves hucksters, because all of these gambler-esque people who study sorcery by the word of Hoyle, they refer to themselves as hucksters because of this whole ruse they put up to the outside world. Yeah, we're just gamblers. We're not actually sorcerers. We're just gamblers. That's all. So they call themselves hucksters because they're getting one over everyone else. Okay, let's talk more about the spells themselves. As I said before, I am reading from the Deadlands Classic, the Weird West version, but if you have reloaded, there's enough overlap there from what I understand to where a lot of what I'm going to say is also going to apply there, but I could be wrong on that. They might have some spells that this one doesn't have, and vice versa. Anyway, the spells we have in the core book, let's start, or hexes as they're called. You are a hex slinger, and you need at least one rank in the hex slinging aptitude in this version in order to do your powers, do your spells. Call of the Wild, first of all. Call of the Wild, you call critters, real-life creatures, not like monsters, undead creatures or whatever, but just real normal creatures. If they're in the area, you can call them to you, and if you maintain concentration, have control over them, and they can do your bidding to a reasonable extent. They're not geniuses. They have to be fairly simple enough commands, but you know, they can like attack for you if you maintain concentration, which could be helpful if, you know, there's a pack of wolves or a bear or whatever else, a mountain lion nearby. And in this version, at least, the amount and type of creature you can summon depends on the hand of cards that you're able to compile when you're doing your spell check thingy, whatever you want to call it. Slinging your hex. Let's use the real terminology. Slinging your hex. Next hex to sling, Corporeal Tweak. I can read. Corporeal Tweak. And let's talk about Corporeal Twist, the next one, at the same time. It's a buff or a debuff, respectively, to each spell. So you can improve the traits with one or reduce the traits with the other. And this can apply to another target, yourself. Obviously you don't want to hinder your own stats with Corporeal Twist, but you do want to improve yours with Corporeal Tweak. Unless you're sick of your character and you want them to die, but you don't want to make it clear that you want your character to die, or at least your character doesn't want to make it clear that your character has a death wish to the other characters in the party, and so you send yourself on a suicide mission, all nobly and whatever, but you want to make sure that you fail. You probably don't want to do Corporeal Twist on yourself, but Corporeal Tweak to buff yourself. Absolutely, you want to do that. So help yourself and allies or hurt your enemies. Next, let's talk Earshot and sort of another similar one, Private Eye. They work kind of similarly in the sense that it allows you to see or hear, depending on which one, through the senses of a subject. You have to get close enough to touch them, and there's limits on how far away they can be after the fact. But you can then hear or see through their ears and eyes, at least for a time. So that could be a fun mission unto itself. If someone has Earshot or Private Eye or both, well then there could be a big chunk of content of the party just trying to get this person to this important person, like trying to shake hands with the local sheriff or a military leader or something, just trying to get that person near him to even touch him. Especially if they're like a germaphobe or something, or they're just averse to touching people or whatever. They're just hard to really get to, but you have to get to them to be able to spy on them later. I don't know, that could be a thing. Next is Helping Hand. Helping Hand is a single target healing spell, and basically, of course, you have to play cards near them. You play solitaire or poker or whatever near the person for a time, and you can heal some injuries. You can't like repair limbs or anything like that. You need to be a holy man, a blessed character, or a Native American shaman character to do that type of healing. And it takes a couple minutes to pull this off, so not the most potent healing spell in the game, or healing hex in the game, but better than nothing. Let's see. Hunch is a hex. Hunch is a hex, where it's basically a post-cognition. Instead of precognition, where you can see the future, it's post-cognition, where you place your hand on a person, place, or thing, and you can get information about the past, stuff that happened beforehand. Mind Tweak. Isn't there a Mind Twist? Mind Tweak and Mind Twist. Let's talk about those two different hexes. As you might imagine, very similar to Corporeal Tweak and Corporeal Twist, where it's a buff and debuff, respectively, two traits, except this is traits of the mental variety, whereas Corporeal Tweak and Twist were more physical, so this is dealing with mental traits. Increase someone's mental aptitude or decrease it. Increases a person's mental traits or decreases them, which is a wonderful way to be useful. If maybe there's some sort of tournament or any kind of conflict with other people, you can just make someone stupid. Make your buddy's opponent stupid, because there's a fist-fighting tournament outside the saloon or something. Make this opponent really dumb, because his biggest strength is his strategy. It's a small opponent, and he's weak, but he's really smart and tactically sound, and so you make him dumb. And I guess you could do the same thing with the Corporeal Tweak or Twist. Debuff them in that manner. But there's a lot of creativity here in how to be useful to the group with all the different hexes. Miss Me is a hex that protects you from bullets and other hexes, but not like area of effect stuff, flamethrowers, and the like. And so it's just a defensive hex. Phantom Fingers, it allows you to manipulate stuff just like telekinetically from a distance, and you do have some fine control. Like, you can work and fire a revolver, or pick a lock, or that sort of thing. It's a bit more taxing to do the more fine manipulation parts of this, like turning a key or working a gun, as opposed to just like pulling the gun from an enemy's holster. Next we have Shadow Man and Shadow Walk, which I guess are really two different things, but they're kind of tangentially related to each other because they deal with shadows, manipulating of shadows, or interacting with shadows, I guess. Shadow Man, it's basically a stealth cloak kind of thing. You can wrap shadows around you and make you really hard to see, though not actually invisible, just harder to see. Shadow Walk is a really interesting one, where if there's a shadow that you can physically disappear into, so you can't be seen, it's that dark, that pronounced of a shadow, you can actually appear in another similar shadow, kind of nearby. There are, of course, limits and guidelines on distance and all that, but you can just go into one shadow and come out another, essentially. Use them like a teleportation door kind of thing. I wonder if you can use Shadow Man to create a pocket of shadow around you to... Does that count? Can you travel from your Shadow Man pocket shadow to another naturally existing shadow, if assuming the Shadow Man shadow is dark enough, or to make a shadow that's not normally dark enough to shadow walk into? Maybe you Shadow Man yourself and then walk into a shadow, and now Shadow Man combined with the natural shadowiness of the shadow itself is enough to engulf you completely, and then you appear in another shadow that is dark enough for you to, or you know what I mean? Can you use Shadow Man to help make it easier to shadow walk? I don't know. It doesn't really say. Soul Blast. You do damage. You hit your enemy with soul energy. You do damage. Is it Texas Twister? You summon a Twister, and any attacks that like go through the Twister, yours or anyone's, not just enemies, they will have like an accuracy penalty to them. And also, if you're in the Twister trying to do anything, you get penalties added on to you, because, Rough Wind will do that to you. Finally, Trinkets. Trinkets is basically you can just reach into your pockets and pull out something useful, and how well you roll, or not roll, how good of a hand you put together with the Huckster mechanics determines the type of object you can pull out, how important an object is. Maybe there's a specific key you need to unlock a specific chest for the next MacGuffin item or whatever, that might be harder to just pull out of your pocket. But if you just want like a match or some money, then it's going to be noticeably easier. And it's worth noting that whatever you summon from your pocket with this particular hex, there's a time limit on how long it lasts. Eventually it will wink out of existence, so if you're paying someone with money or playing poker or something with money that you summoned from your pocket, it's going to disappear. Take that into account. Someone might realize, hey, you didn't pay me at all, or you stole it back somehow. How did you do that? No, it just disappeared because magic. They might accuse you of being a witch and, burn you. Anyway, those are the hexes. As you can see, there's a lot of variety here. There's a bit of damage, there's a bit of debuffing, there's a bit of buffing, there's a little bit of healing, not much compared to Blessed and Shaman, as I said, but there's a little bit of everything here, plus utility like the pulling trinkets from your pocket and stuff. There's stealth, defense, there's just a nice wide variety here. So if you're not really sure what type of magic user you want to be from a mechanical standpoint, then Huckster might be right for you. But anyway, that's just a basic bare bones intro guide to Hucksters. Next time we're going to be talking about the Mad Scientists.